Hey, this is Monty Colvin, and you're watching CMS TV.
I don't even know where to begin with this horrible story and how sad I am, but my dear, dear friend Ralph, of course, who calls into the show all the time, and Ralph, who has been at my side for so many years, has died. And I tell you, it's going to be difficult for me to get through this obituary, if you will, but I just have been so sad and so angry. I think this is the toughest part of loving someone, when you lose them. And Lord knows I loved Ralph. I've probably been friends with Ralph for maybe 40 years. We loved to laugh together. Wherever we'd be, I'd be waiting backstage at Letterman, and I always loved to have Ralph around me because we would giggle. There were days we'd call each other on the phone and spend hours talking as George Takei. Ralph is the reason I always start the show with, "Hey now." Hey now, Ralph was in love with the Larry Sanders Show. And every minute he was, "Hey now." It became so infectious that I started to go, "Hey now, hey now." And every minute.
Doesn't it sound like an awful boring friendship?
What I find weird is he doesn't talk about this off the cuff. Like he's just sharing his true thoughts. It's like he's reading this.
He probably is reading it.
Well, why would you read something? See, if somebody close to me passed away and I was eulogizing them, I wouldn't sit there and be reading it off a script. I would just telling you off the top of my head what my immediate thoughts and feelings are about that. Not, well, I met Ralph 40 years ago and we had the same sense of, it's like, why wouldn't you talk about that in a very candid fashion rather than read it off a script?
And especially this guy who's made his whole living off the cuff, allegedly.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
I find that really bizarre. I knew Ralph from almost 40 years. We used to talk on the phone all the time, and we would talk for hours. That's weird.
It is weird. And honestly, that whole part is weird. He would call me and say, "Hey now," and then I would say, "Hey now," back to him. And sometimes we would just do impressions of George Takei for hours. What? Okay. I've called you, 10,000 times?
Yeah.
Have we ever just done impressions back and forth to each other?
No.
What kind of weird fucking relationship is that?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of that, regardless of the
weirdness,
the content of their friendship.
Yeah.
It's weird that he's reading this.
Well, I agree. Don't know why he is, but he is.
Okay.
Maybe he doesn't want to forget anything.
Well, then you just kind of make cliff notes. You don't sit there and read it verbatim off a piece of paper. You just talk freely about it as if, I met Ralph, 15 years ago or 40 years ago, he was working at a McDonald's or some shit. And I remember how we just kind of hit it off, and, we were really good friends because, we both had this immediate connection because we had the same interest in something and blah, blah, blah. But you don't sit there and read it off a script.
Well, he is the king of all media, including reading, apparently.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
All right, here's some more.
Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. First of all, when we were on WNBC, Ralph used to call into our show. He called in, his mother was listening too. He was in high school, and this is his first call, 1985. We were on the air.
Howard, can you play the new Connie Francis Christmas song?
You want to hear it again?
Yeah, my mother didn't hear it. She loves Connie Francis.
Well, is she listening now?
Yeah. You want to talk to her?
Yeah, sure.
Hold on.
What did my son say, that I like Connie Francis? She's not a singer. She's not an entertainer.
I got rid of her.
I thought she had something to say. Let me speak to your mother. I don't want to speak to you, you dopey kid.
I'm not a dopey kid, man. Listen, I was on David Letterman, too.
By the way, he never told me he was on Letterman.
When was he?
Okay.
What's that look? This is the first time I've seen Robin in literally years.
Yeah.
What's up with that hair? So she's obviously at her home, right? I guess
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
I guess they broadcast remotely now.
Yeah, they don't do it in the studio.
I do.
Yeah,
Isn't it funny that something that we started doing in 2005, that's the norm now?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing it.
I think what I should do is get on my Eddie Trunk high horse and go, I invented that remote, I'm the one who started that.
Yeah, they definitely do not do. I think they've all moved too. Like,
yeah, I think they live
Howard's in Florida. Gary's in Florida.
Why Howard still kind of goes back and forth between Long Island and Florida?
Maybe, I don't know. I know Ronnie the limo driver's in Vegas. Starring John still, but he's not on the show anymore. So
you know what's really weird is that these hardcore lefty liberal type people who, I love New York. New York is the center of it all. This is the place to be. It's the end all be all. But when the taxes get high and the cost of living gets high and stuff, they all run to a red state like Florida where they have no income taxes.
Of course.
It's just like, you know what? Why don't you go enjoy your faggy liberal state and stay out of the good states, and don't bring your voting practices with you if you do come to a good state.
Well, did you see that mayor of New York today saying that basically saying he went to Washington to try and get some help with the sanctuary city, and they told him to fucking pound salt.
As they should.
He told him, sorry, New York, but you're not getting any help.
Yeah, fuck you.
That'll
teach you to be a sanctuary city, you dick.
Yeah. Well, think with your vote next time, New York people.
Yeah, same here with Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago, we're a sanctuary city, but we got rampant crime. We got people living on the streets. We got people fighting for housing. We got people who are actual citizens here that are being put out of, being cheated out of their quote unquote their stuff.
Of course. Got people like Sal hiding in their apartment because they're afraid to go out.
People like Sal telling me not to bring my car downtown.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want to give it away to a sanctuary citizen.
Yeah, give it away now.
That's right. All right, here's more of Howard eulogizing Ralph Cirella.
Yeah, all right, go ahead. He's still reading. Again, this is just a bizarre thing. Who reads this?
Him?
Okay, go ahead.
Letterman.
Before I even met him, they chose him from the audience to ask Larry Bud Melman a question during a segment.
What is your name, sir?
Ralph Cirella.
Where are you from, Ralph?
Mendham, New Jersey.
What do you do for a living?
I work in...
See, the whole bit is scripted.
Of course it is.
Because he's got all the clips ready to go. The whole bit is scripted.
Right.
Unreal. Okay.
In office.
What kind of office?
Where they do office work.
Oh, one of those offices.
Yeah.
And your question, sir?
I'd like to know what the best investments for the 80s are.
Oh, good question. Best investments for the 80s.
You know what? History could have been very different. If he had palled up to Letterman, Letterman would have looked like me.
There you go. Letterman would have had the long hair and...
Letterman knew not to become friends.
Ugh. Shut up. Shut up, Robin. And shut up, Howard.
Who listens to this show anymore?
There's still a rabid fan base for it. I don't know who it is, but there's still...
you can only listen to it on Sirius XM, right?
Yeah, and on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays or whatever days he works. He doesn't work like a full week. I think he only works 3 days a week.
But I wonder what the subscription base is like for Sirius XM these days. I mean, why would you even have Sirius XM?
Same reason people have always had it, because it comes with their car.
Well, I understand, but do they pay to keep it going?
More than likely.
Well, see, I got mine with my car today, but when it expires, I'm certainly not going to renew it.
But you're one of those guys that'll actually call and cancel. Most of these yahoos that are buying a fucking Ford Fiesta or whatever they're buying, a Kia Soul that has this in it, it's worked into their payment. So they'll pay it for 6 years or whatever.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But you know that's true.
Yeah, well, I know you're right.
So they'll have it for 6 years, and therefore Sirius will still have subs. And just like we talked about, was it last week that we talked about commercial radio or 2 weeks ago, whatever? They'll listen to it every stupid day, even if it's garbage like this. At least it's Howard Stern.
Right.
I'm used to it. I'll listen.
I certainly wouldn't pay for this.
No, absolutely not. All right, here's more of the great Howard Stern.
Friends with Ralph. I somehow became friends with him. He was a tremendously talented guy. When I met Ralph, we had no budget, and I needed to look like Larry King or something like that. And Ralph would make these elaborate prosthetics. And I said, "You are so talented." And that was the beginning of our friendship.
He's reading this.
Stinks.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm sitting there on the Channel 9 show. He goes, "You don't look that good on air. Like, maybe you should grow your hair out a little bit, or maybe your clothes are a little tight. You don't wear short sleeves." He started to critique my look. And rather than get offended, I said, work with me. And so he started cutting my hair. He started doing makeup for me. He was a jack of all trades. He's the reason.
All right, you know what? Aside from the reading,
Yeah.
aside from the vibe and all this other crap that's going on here, none of this is stuff that anybody that's ever listened to Howard Stern does not already know.
True.
This is your friend. You just said at the start of this that you're so upset that you can't fucking function. And yet the only thing you can say about your friend is the same shit we know. He said, "Hey now." He styled my hair. He dressed me for appearances. We know all that. Tell some stories.
Yeah, something that we don't know. Tell us about your personal friendship with him that didn't involve the radio show.
That will make you seem like a human and make your friendship seem like a human relationship. This is just bullshit.
Yeah, he was just a guy that helped me with my career and my look and my show. But what did you do outside? Did you invite him over to the house for holiday stuff? Did you
anything? Did you go to strip clubs together or what?
Did you go on vacation together ever? Did you share some kind of activity outside of the radio show?
And this is dull as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
And I met Beth.
He grabbed you and dragged you out of the house that night, right? You didn't want to go out.
He made me go to this dinner party, and he was sitting next to Beth. He really had to convince me to come out. I went there, and I just had the best night of my life. I met the person I love in this world the most. Beth.
Again, been told 30 fucking times on the show.
Wonder how Allison feels about this. It's all about Allison.
Sure, she's fine, knowing that she's collecting big coin from this dick.
Because I thought that Allison was the love of your life.
Well, until this one came along.
Oh, okay.
I know that Ralph was a true friend of mine because there was one time I was dating this guy and Ralph knew the guy. And then when we broke up, Ralph called me that evening and I picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Ralph." And he just said, "Fuck that guy." And then he was just like, "You don't spend a second feeling bad about this," and he was just that
By the way,
kind of guy.
And see, that is actually a real story.
Because it didn't happen on the air.
Yeah, that is a real story. And she didn't have to say who it was or anything like that. She told a real story about the guy.
But how she had a friendship outside of the radio station with him.
Yeah, it wasn't like, Ralph would come into the studio and he'd give me my coffee and it was always hot and it was great. It's like she told a real story. As much as she's a fucking vapid idiot, she told a real story.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Didn't that make you feel great?
Oh my God,
When he
I
did
was
that, yeah.
laughing. I was immediately laughing because it was so amazing.
What are you doing? Get away from here, Ralph. It was Jackie who was giving you a hard time. Get out of here. Stop it.
The bottom line is Ralph was a trustworthy, dear friend who made me laugh every time I was with him. And the trust and the admiration we had for each other was genuine. Let's just say, rest in peace, Ralphie boy.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're saying it, but this guy was my man. And he's like the brother I never had.
And there you have it.
So they shared the same hairstyle.
Apparently so. Oh, Ralph knew how to do it.
I know. So he did it. So they were like the Bobbsey twins.
Yeah, exactly.
I just still found it weird that he had to read that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the whole thing is actually 20 minutes. This is like the edited version that series put out, but I heard the 20-minute version too, and it's no better. You know, one of the things that annoyed me about this thing, Ralph has been with Stern for 40 fucking years, right?
Yeah.
One of the things Stern said on the air was that one of the problems was that he didn't have health insurance.
Okay.
Howard Stern makes a goddamn gazillion dollars.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take care of his own people?
No.
With health insurance?
Nope.
The fuck?
That was one of the biggest beefs about, Stuttering John and, some of
Scott the engineer too, yeah.
People who kind of came and went that, they basically didn't, their contributions were not compensated.
No.
How they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always a bit, and Jackie, same way with Jackie.
Yeah.
Joke Man, same thing. That was always a beef that the money and the benefits were not there for their contributions.
No.
They were expected to show up and make that show successful, but when it came to getting it on the back end, they got nothing.
They got nothing. But man, how awful. Why would he bring that up on his show that he didn't provide health insurance for a guy that he worked with for 40 fucking years that died young?
Yeah.
Probably because he didn't have good health care. I mean, what the fuck?
I know you don't know a lot about him. I'm sure you're well aware of Mark Levin, who he is.
I know who he is.
Well, he was having a problem with having some heart issues.
Okay.
And this was before he became successful and, made a lot of money in radio like he does now.
Mm-hmm.
But he was having problems and he couldn't afford to get the proper treatment for his heart related issues.
Right.
And Rush Limbaugh stepped up to the plate and said, you go to the Mayo Clinic and get this handled. He says, don't worry about the bill. I got it covered.
Yeah.
So whatever it cost, I don't know what it cost, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap. Rush Limbaugh stroked the check for it and paid for it.
See, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Stern can't do.
But again, Rush was making like $30 million a year.
Well, so is Stern, and he can't take care of his guys.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that Rush was making $30 million a year, and if he had to spend $500,000 on his friend's heart issue for medical bills, that's like a drop in a bucket.
That's like me loaning you $20 or something.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's nothing. And for him to not provide health care for this dude when he was in the hospital for rare lymphoma.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's pretty fucking shallow. What did he do? When Ralph, there's the story I'd like to hear. When Ralph called him and told him he had some fucking rare form of lymphoma, what's he do? Dude, I hope they get it. Hope you come out of this okay. I mean, what does he do?
Yeah, it's like you guys. I'm not going to offer shekels for your issues.
Yeah, I was going to say clearly he didn't say, "Hey, whatever it costs, I'll help out here."
Right.
You're my fucking best friend.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sure he didn't go. What do you need? What do you need from me?
No,
let's get you the best specialist there is, or whatever the case may be.
Sounds like you said, you know what? Thoughts and prayers, my friend. Doesn't it sound like that?
It does. That's exactly what it sounds like to me.
That's just terrible.
Do you have a friend or family member who is a fan of Chris Aken? If so, give the gift of Aken this Christmas with one of his many books. Chris has written 2 inspirational books. Call Me Chris deals with surviving a near life-ending accident that Chris endured, while Little Victories goes in great detail on how to, and not always the right way to navigate the brutal pain of divorce. If it's heavy metal you enjoy, then Chris's Cause and Effect series of books are your loved one's thing. 3 books that deal with Metallica's Black Album, Motley Crue's 1994 album, and Judas Priest's Turbo. These are fun reads about 3 very controversial albums. Finally, if your loved one likes it raw, dirty, and silly, then Another Things I Should Not Say is the book. Full of not safe for work stories, and other things I should not say details the filthy, silly, and probably illegal activities of Chris during his military years. These books are a lot of fun, informational, heartfelt, and truly tell a lot of the story that is Chris Aken. Order now from chrisaken.net and get them in time for Christmas.